Thank you, Professor Ramprasad. Up next, we have the last session of the day. It's a closing industry feature by Mr. Dinesh Pillai, CEO, Mahindra SSG India. Mr. Dinesh Pillai was appointed as the CEO of Mahindra Special Services Group in 2009. Mahindra SSG, part of the $14.4 billion Mahindra Group, is India's leading corporate risk management consulting firm that helps organizations reduce business risks and enhance competitive advantage. As the CEO of Mahindra SSG, Mr. Pillai defines the roadmap for all business risk security assessments and innovations. Between 2004 and 2009, he served as COO, Head Delivery Operations at Mahindra SSG. Welcome, Mr. Pillai.
So the last presentation. It's actually very tough to speak after the lunch, and especially when it's the last, it's all the more difficult because people will start looking at the watch. I'll try to keep it brief, and it's my privilege to be here and speaking to this audience. What I'm trying to tell you is a very simple topic. It's the risk to the brand in the connected world. So if you're expecting that I'm going to give you any solutions, I'm not going to give the solution, because what I can actually do is to tell you why we are in a problem. And frankly, the solution is not a rocket science. You will be able to understand the solutions. So I keep telling these people, I used to be a smoker almost for 25 years, and I never had an idea why I continue to smoke. But one day I realized why I smoke, then I stopped smoking. Without any withdrawal pangs, nothing. So what I'm trying to do is to replicate the same thing and tell you that why there is a risk to the brand and what we can do to prevent, not everything, at least something, somehow the impact. So obviously, what is the risk in the connected world? How are we prepared to handle this? How does the current method impact us, and what is the right way to do it? So some of the examples, this has already been picked up from the newspapers and the web. You will be knowing most of this. So there are frauds, there are hacking. Interestingly, when the Facebook is hacked, at least the Facebook's owner's homepage is hacked. So there are multiple things like, you keep getting it on a day-to-day basis. So at least today people understand there is something called a hacking in the universe. Now, how the hacking actually impacts people, I am not too sure whether a decent enough percentage of people actually understand it. And the saddest part, when you look or when you talk about the risk, is it's always viewed from an external point to an internal point. We actually don't really bother what is actually the issues in the internal side, which can come back and hit you, or hit you and your brand in a manner that you won't be even able to rise up the next day morning. So I will also walk you through some of those examples, because I'm just trying to set the context of the talk. When we actually do some kind of an assessment for a lot of organizations, we actually get this kind of data. And the way we do it is, we say we don't need any access to the organization, just give us a place to sit. And then we start getting this kind of data, which is completely going to damage the organization, because these are all non-compliances and violation of the legal terms. And these are actually been documented by the organization people and kept inside, and a person who is actually an outsider can pick it up. So what stops a person who is actually an employee sitting inside and he's got some kind of a disgruntlement, not do what we can actually do? Look at this. This is actually a financial organization where there is an internal fraud team. They have dictated that people are actually transferring money, the employees are actually transferring money from the client side, client accounts to their account and keep rotating it. Now, as per the Indian CRPC, if the bank detects a financial fraud, they are supposed to report to the police in 24 hours. That's the criminal law. If you don't do that, then the bank is also culpable to the issue. But what they have done is they have given warning to people. Now, there are two implications of this. Let's assume that I'm a regulator, then obviously the license is in trouble. But assume that I'm a media person. I'm just going to put a front page news saying that this bank employs people who are fraudsters. When they are caught, they have been told, better be careful next time, don't get caught. So this is obviously, I mean, these are the board meetings and all where a lot of market related issues are being documented and then people get access to it. This is actually very interesting because there's a food and beverages company and there's an internal documentation says, I mean, there's a complaint saying that, there is fungus and all this in the dough. Now the point is, this was done at a time when there was no Facebook, there was no Twitter, there was nothing. Today, this doesn't go into as a complaint to the organization. It will first go to the Facebook. From there, the person, I mean, nobody actually even verifies whether what actually comes to as a post in the Facebook or a Twitter is actually correct or not. You just keep forwarding it. So within a fraction of the second, a large part of the population will come to know that this company who is selling dough, they have no quality system. This may be just one of its kind case. Look at next. Fungus in diapers. If any mother or a father sees this document, they will never go and buy this brand. So I'm skipping this because this is about managing the regulators and making payments. Just read this if you can. The people at the back can read this, right? Now, this is a company which prides itself by telling the employee that we actually give our own material to you, products to you, at 50 to 60% discount. And this is what actually they do. Just imagine if this kind of information actually goes to an employee or if it goes into the public domain, what kind of brand value people have. In fact, most of us use this. I mean, this is a hair dye manufacturing company. The way it was advertised that we don't have ammonia in our product. At the same time, they know internally that they already got an FDA clearance for the ammonia. But interestingly, what they are adding is much beyond what is been allowed. Now, there is a business ethics violation, there is a FDA violation. Just imagine the impact of this. And these are all documents which has been picked up from within the organization. This has not been, it's not something that which we have actually cooked up. Various things like that, health and safety issues, 300 bars pressure, there is no pressure monitoring device. So there are a lot of these things. I mean, I don't want to take too much of time because this is something which you need to understand, because let's not talk only about Facebook. We also need to understand what is the root cause. So in this kind of a connected world, there are two issues what comes out. One is I have the access to the right information, and I can also post incorrect information. There is no validation that happens. Now, if I get the correct information, then obviously you need to figure that how did a person get access to a correct information which is not supposed to get. Forget about the wrong information. I can also make a post saying that ISB is a useless organization. I will put some one paragraph, post it. Wildfire, it will become. That's what everyone sees. I mean, forget about even the organizations. Countries collapsed because of Facebook. The issue that the business actually need to figure out is that in the post era, I mean, I come from an era of Doordarshan and Chitrahar, so I knew how the business used to run that time. There was enough time to react. I mean, even if something goes wrong, I know it's going to be localized. It will come at the most in the local newspaper. But beyond that, there's no visibility. Today, even before the management realizes what happens, it is gone all across the world. But the irony is the management is in line with the times when it comes to figuring out what they need to do. The risk control that is put in place in most of the organizations, I'm not even talking about the brand risk or brand resilience, because that's a new term which has come in. These controls are actually been designed for risk which was there age 10 and 15 years back. That's not going to work here. Second issue that we see is in the current business environment, because people are on the toes to survive. So for them, this doesn't really come as a priority, primarily for two reasons. The collapse of the organization is always at the next door. I am always perfect. Nothing ever happened to me. So I am perfect. The second issue that we also need to understand is what is the core issue that we are trying to protect. Perhaps there is a huge disconnect at that level when you look at what is the core issue. When I say what is the core issue, what is the risk that is being faced by the organization today? Most of you will start wondering why this guy has put up this slide here saying that regional instability, political situation as a risk to the business. Interestingly, this is something which people need to understand. So today when there is an infiltration from, let's say, across the border, we are actually lucky because all the bordering countries are against us. So when there's an infiltration from across the border and the army and the defense say that, we are controlling it, what do they actually do? Essentially, the infiltration is now towards the center of the country because in the border area there is enough defense, so they come into the center of the country. Where do they get the jobs? 3 jobs. One is driver, second is security guard, and third is BPO. People are already inside your organization. You don't even know that. You still think the Maoist or the leftist people are the ones who actually walk in and around in dhotis. They are not. Now, the problem is when you calibrate the risk, the organization really don't bother about this because their belief of the risk is something else. Today, we were in a licensed age and today it's an open economy. When the foreign companies actually fight, let's say a Boeing and a Airbus starts to compete for a deal, it is not 2 companies which is competing, it's 2 countries which is competing. They have the wherewithal to figure out what each one is doing and then try to block or get the deal. But the organization don't even think that it is at that level because we are still in the world of tender, L1 gets the deal. There are so many things because this slide itself will take me around 1 hour to complete. So there are also issues like fraud, forensics, hacking. Today, if I want to really get into the bottom of a company, I don't need to know any technology skill. I can just go to the underground world, get the real people who understand the technology, and I can get it done. And I will tell them, okay, 50% share is yours because in any case, I don't do any effort. I am getting free money. Take 50%, give me 50%. It's not a joke. It happens. Today, you can actually get credit card details of any person in the world for 10 rupees a card. That's a fact. Now, what is the preparation that we have to face this kind of scenario? It's very interesting. I mean, I'm not saying that we are not doing anything. We are doing a lot of things. So just let's play a game, right? And then figure out what we do and how prepared we are. So let me explain the game. It's actually a video which is around 10 seconds. There are 2 teams playing a game in this. It's basically throwing the ball. There is a black team and there is a white team. You are expected to count the number of times a white person throws the ball to the white person. Please remember, the number of times the white throws the ball to the white. You will see blacks also doing the same, or the black sending it to white, white sending it to black. Ignore all of that. Just count the number of times the white sends the ball to white. And if you really get the count right, I'll be surprised. So please remember the number of times the white sends the ball to white. So that's 1. That's 2. So I'll restart this now. Now you count, please. So that's 2. So what's the number? 14. 15. Now get to a consensus. 13, 14, 15. Anything less than 10? Did anyone count 16? No. You count 16. Okay. 1, 6. Okay. Now I believe this room is having at least 300 people now, or maybe 200 people. How many of you saw a gorilla in this picture? Less than 10%, right? Now I'm going to play the video again. Now don't count the balls, just look at the video. Now look at this guy. He walks into the screen. He will stand in front of you, thumb his chest. But 80% of the people in this room did not see him. Right? This is how we look at the risk. The risk which is obviously in front of you, you don't see it because the instruction and the wiring in your mind is not aligned to looking at the risk like this. So anyway, there is no price, and frankly, even I don't know what is the actual number of counts. So then what happens? It's very interesting. Now, so when you talk about risk in any organization, the belief is it's a financial risk, it's the operational risk, it's the technology risk. So a lot of things that we talk about the brand risk is linked to the technology risk because we believe if we secure our technology, our brand risk is well taken care of. Now, when you ask the people, I mean, when you make investments into business, there is a word called return on investment. You know it better than me. But when you make an investment into the risk, there is no return on investment. It's a waste. Because till something goes wrong or you are able to detect, there is no return. And still the management, the senior management still wants to know what is the ROI on this investment. Then interesting thing happens. What is the feedback? For an ROI, you need a feedback. So what's the feedback? The feedback is we have audits. So everything is fine. The audit report says things are okay, so we are fine. But everyone in the world knows that audit is actually told to the organization well in advance. And it is done for 2 or 3 minutes, 3 days. So everything becomes clean for that 2 or 3 days. So a lot of time the audit report that actually goes back to the top management creates a perception that we are okay. And the reality may be completely opposite. But they don't get it because they still look at the checklist report and say, okay, fine, we are okay. The audit never looks at the efficiency of the control. It only tells that the control is placed. It basically says that you have invested money. It doesn't talk about the ROI. But the belief is audit actually tells you the ROI. Now, there are also other issues like access, process, people, which doesn't even come into the risk framework of the organization. And that is where actually the fault lies. So this segment is very difficult to handle. And that's why people tend to ignore and they wait for a disaster, then say, okay, fine, we'll figure out what to do. So this is what happens when you have the standard risk management framework. I have all the technology in the world, so I can be relaxed. Also, there are a set of organizations who believe that outsourcing is good enough. I'll outsource my brand risk management or anything. And then you are actually risking your life with the capability of the shooter, right? If he misses the aim, you are finished, but you are okay. Because you have shifted the monkey from your shoulder to somebody else's shoulder. It's like insurance. Then an interesting thing happens. A lot of people say, boss, I have everything in place. Don't worry about it. I mean, I'm certified, I have this, I have that. I have all the controls in place. Right? So the control which was designed 5 years back, at that time the head was at risk, but today the risk is somewhere else. The control is still there. I'm okay. Then this happens. The guy goes down. I mean, it can be one of your partners also. He goes down. He pulls you along with him, and then you say it was bad luck. When 363 days in a year we are okay. On that one particular day, that one particular minute, it was bad luck. Now this is stupidity actually, because people don't understand what they need to look at. And there is always a belief that there is control which is inbuilt somewhere in the system. Every man who is supposed to be taking care of a risk, he believes that the one previous to me has already taken care of him, he's okay. He's a clean guy. Now, when this control goes into the organization, right from the perimeter security guard, everyone believes that, yes, gate se aaya, so he's okay. So somebody has okayed him, so he's an authorized guy. Second issue, when you become an employee of the organization, you will get a logical ID and a physical ID. I have yet to see any organization who actually checks what that person is actually sitting inside and doing. Because we believe in trust, we believe in transparency, we believe that there is a word called loyalty still in the world. What if is a person who is planted by a competition? can be a media, can be a regulator, can be your competition. You have no clue. But we believe that we have all the controls. Second, the risk is not major because it never happened to us, so why worry? We trust, we have partnerships and blah, blah, blah. And I am yet to see any company which is very proactive in this kind of things, though as there are some ways which I can see, but because most of the people still are at the reactive level. Or some people will say, police will help me. The guy who was actually doing a beat police 3 years back is today is a cybercrime police, right? What does he understand about IT? So what is it that we need to do? So I have told you what the issue is. Now this is a slide which you can actually write by yourself. I don't need to explain. First of all, recognize what can be controlled. That's the problem with most of the organization, including people. There is something which you cannot control. So for instance, if I make a post in a Facebook which is actually wrong, there is nothing much you can do. Neither the Facebook will be able to do anything, neither the organization will be able to do anything. Neither will your friends who is in the list will check whether what you have written is right, because they trust you. They will just forward it. Right? So let's not even focus on that. How do I secure my data in the Facebook and all? Some years back I came across, couple of years back I came across a company which has got a brand risk management team sitting inside, one person. So I asked him, what does it do? The MD told me, Dinesh, there are a lot of complaints that comes on the web, on one particular website about my service. So what this guy is doing, he has got a standard paragraph. So every time a complaint comes, he put that 3-page paragraph onto the web page. So that complaint goes down. So I asked him, so I asked him, sir, is this the only website? I said, yeah, this is the only thing which has been told to me. So in front of him, I Googled and showed him there are 23 more websites which is doing this. So he said, now what? I said, the problem, you understand the problem, what is there? I asked him, did you even read that complaint which has been put by people? You have a call center. When people make calls because your service is not proper, the call center people don't even know what to answer. They just put you in a spin, call after 3 days. I said, understand that root cause and try to fix it. Don't put this 3-page paragraph into the web posting every day. It's not going to solve the problem. So identifying the root cause rather than handling the manifestation is something which the organization need to do. I keep talking about this OODA loop. I think that's the best control that you have when it comes to the risk. Anybody heard about this? Okay. So this is actually a theory which has been created by a US fighter pilot. His name is John Boyd. You can actually Google him up. You'll see a lot of things. See, when the US Air Force was getting rogered in the Korean War, or Korean or Vietnam War, I don't recollect. So he was actually a fighter, he's a trainer pilot for the US Air Force. So he created this theory. So the fundamental thing is, in a combat aircraft fight, which is the weakest position for you? Yeah, the enemy is actually on your tail. It's a dead situation. So this theory he actually created, in which he said, I will start from that position of the maximum vulnerability, and I will shoot down the aircraft in 40 seconds. So you can also Google him as 40-second Boyd. So basically he come out with this theory, which is very simple thing, it's a common sense, which we practice in our daily life, but when it comes to business, we don't apply it. Supposing that I'm going to throw this, right? At least 2 people are raised their hands saying that protect. This is it. The first O stands for observe. Second says orient. Third says do. And fourth is basically decide and act. So D is actually decide and act. So basically it says that every action that you need to go through these 4 pillars. First you decide what is your orientation that you want to do. So that is where I talked about what is it that you want to control comes in place. So once you have that objective in hand, then you can actually orient with whatever mechanism that you have in place. Whether it is people, process, technology, blah, 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 you can orient. Then you decide what you want to do. Indian companies come till this level. They will decide what they want to do, but when it comes to action, it falters. Because there is no priority, the gorilla is not seen. Now, if you really want to protect against this, I'm not even saying that you will be safer because it's a cat and mouse game. The people who want to really pull you down are actually much ahead of you all the time because their organizational structure is flat, your organizational structure is multi-tier. So by the time you need to take a decision, it will take a week's time, whereas in the criminal world, the decision is taken in a second. So I think what people need to do is also to create what we call as a brand recovery strategy. So if there is an issue in an organization, let's say there's a fire, right? We are seeing people don't even know what to respond to the media. There is no practice, there is nothing. So one person will say something, second person will say something else, and in the next day in the newspaper it will say from the informed sources we know this is the cause. That's how the informed sources come up because nobody knows what to talk. This is something which people need to start doing it because how do you know whether my brand is actually in line with what I'm doing or it is something else. And like I said, listen to the customers and the complaints rather than trying to silence them because a lot of time we tend to figure that isko side mein kar do, don't listen to it. I think if you're able to do this, then obviously you will be able to do something in your brand side, provided we come to the particular level which identifies what is the real risk and try to protect it. Anything that happens in the internet or the connected world is something which is beyond your control. What you can control is what is inside your domain. But what we try to do is try to control the uncontrollable. And then people say we spend so much of money and effort, nothing actually works. That's it. So if there is any question, please. Any questions? Okay, somebody there.
Hi. What I wanted to understand is, are there any examples you can share where there were risks to Mahindra and there were some proactive steps which were taken, and because I think all the organizations today are struggling with this, how to take care of it?
Okay. It's a very interesting question, but I don't think there's any ready-made answers to it. Okay. And obviously, I cannot tell you about what Mahindra is doing or now my clients are doing. But what we have been able to do is identify that 2 to 3% of data or the information that you need to protect. Let's not try to protect everything. Figure out when you really do an analysis. See, the issue with the risk management today or the method today, it is qualitative risk method. So you do a high, medium, low. What we do is actually do a quantitative risk. So we say if this actually happens, if this scenario has to play out, then this is going to be the risk and this is going to be your control options and this is going to be the cost. So it is not about, if you ask me my personal opinion, it is not about putting controls. It is about the way senior management think. That is where the risk is. Because when you put in a control, what happens is the first one to ask for an exception is them, right? And they ask for an exception, nobody can have any control, they will have to give the exception. And very soon the exception becomes the order of the day. So what we try to do for the organization is to make the senior management understand that it is not something which is difficult to do, right? It's possible, it's very easy to do. Even a person who doesn't even have any IT knowledge can do this. That is because you are trying to put a blanket cover across everything. So to optimize the cost, the blanket cover is, if you wanted a platinum standard for some items, you have put in a silver standard. So what you need to do is to discard the silver and the bronze and all, focus only on the platinum, which is actually required. And that's what today the organizations are actually doing, because they are able to identify a risk scenario to a number. So once you do that, but it's also tough because how do you evaluate the risk to a brand in quantitative terms? Is it the cost of bringing Amitabh Bachchan and then putting him on the TV, or is cost of putting somebody else? It's very difficult. So you take a calculated call and figure out what is it that I will not allow in an organization, and then cast it in stone, saying that this is not allowed. That's it. So today, if there is a disgruntled employee so I'll tell you one of the simple thing that we have seen as an example. We were actually called in for an investigation in a company in Bangalore some 3 years back, saying that basically the issue was it's a financial institute. My HNI database is going to my competing bank. So we were told that it's been picked up from the IT, so you scan the IT and all. We got nothing from IT because everything is authorized access. So then we started what we call as a human profiling, because these are the techniques which people use to figure out the risk. So when we started the profiling and when we started speaking to the people, we spoke first to IT person. So we asked him that when a person actually leaves the organization, what is the process to cut him off the system? So is that policy, you open a document, is that policy says 8 hours, I do it in 3 hours, perfectly done. So there is nothing in the IT system which you can actually suspect. So when we started speaking to the legal person, he said, great company to work, fantastic this and that, but I am slightly worried. So we asked him why. He said, every month I had to file a couple of cases against my own employees. So they have a governance policy which says, there are a lot of things, but to cut it short, if there is a financial fraud or a sexual harassment, if there is a named complaint against a person, that person is put on notice straight. So it's a 30-day notice or a 45-day notice based on the severity of the complaint. So in that 45 days of that notice period, the HR, the business and the legal is actually investigating the case and trying to find out if there is any merit. In that same time frame, the poor fellow also can come and prove that he is innocent. So we asked him, what is your conviction rate? He said 80%. We get evidence and then termination immediate. So we asked him, what about the 20% who is innocent? He said, eventually they also leave, because they also feel that their integrity has been questioned. We actually went back to the IT and we asked the IT head that when a person is actually on the show cause notice, what is it that you do in the IT and the physical space to see what is it doing? The answer was very interesting. He said the governance violation, whistleblower, everything is handled by HR, business and the legal. I get a notice on the last day saying that please, today is the last day, and I disconnect him at 7 o'clock in the night. Join the dots. A person who has been accused, he knows by statistics he is going to be out. A person who has committed the crime, he also knows he is going to be caught in given time frame. What is he doing? He is looking for a job. He will carry whatever he wants with him because the access is safe. So the issue there is, you are doing, whenever you do an analysis of a process, you do a top-down analysis. You take one process, do top-down. Nobody actually does a horizontal slicing, saying that a gap in process A, if it's aligned to gap in process B, or a people weakness in C, what kind of path it creates. So what we suggest to the organization is, instead of doing vertical, you do go horizontal. That's the only way you can survive, if at all you will survive.
Okay, we'll make it last question for the day.
Sir, I wanted to know what kind of risk management applies for a startup, because we do not have a concrete business model within the framework of a startup, like a business model per se. We don't have it. So how does risk management apply in such a scenario? What exactly do we need to look at when talking in terms of a startup that is like, say, 1 year old?
If you ask my opinion, don't even worry about the risk, because the moment you start worrying about the risk, your business will come down, because you are a startup. Don't bring in the firewalls around it at this point of time. I am assuming that since it's a startup, there is a set of people who are very loyal to you or the investor or whatever it is. Still you don't come to a sizable chunk. Let's not even talk about major risk. Just make sure that somebody don't backstab you. That's the only risk that you can see at this point of time.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for your time, attention. It was a pleasure.
Mr. Pillai, may I request Vinay to give away the token of appreciation?